Hey, there I am. Yeah, I'm wearing my skull cap today because my hair's getting a little bit long, but shh, don't tell Cindy. Oh, yeah, that's right. She's watching. Mayang buntag, mayang hapon, mayang gabi, no matter where you are in the world. Welcome to today's live stream. Yeah, I'm trying to check the sound again today. Yeah, I'm trying to check the sound again today. Hey, we got sound, video, and it's all good. Hey, we got sound, video. There we go. We're good. Yeah, I found if I lean back just a little bit, I can still see the writing, still see the comments without the glasses, so that actually works a little bit better. And thank you very much, Cindy and Papa, for the coffee. Yes, they brought me up coffee before we got started. I've been diving, man. I just had my ear pop. It's been about humid enough here that it kind of feels like you are diving, though. It is the burr months in the Philippines. That I probably should have got my act together a little bit better and done this one through the Streamlabs so that I could have some outside videos on this as well. The uh, good friend of our channel is Love Beyond the Sea, and he just did a video about compromise and how in relationships especially multicultural relationships like the Fil-Am, that there's often a lot of compromising done, more so than would be typical. And one of the more humorous compromises that Cindy and I had to come to agree to is back in Phoenix. We would decorate the inside of the house and we'd put up the tree and all that on Labor Day weekend, typically on or right close to her birthday. But the outside decorations had to wait until after Halloween, November 1st at the earliest. And so we normally put them up the first weekend in November. Uh, but it's goofy little things like that you do have to compromise on. And it is fun learning how to blend two different cultures into one and make it a happy, harmonious life out of it. Last Christmas here was my first Christmas in the Philippines. And with everything that was going on, with all of the lockdowns, with all of the restrictions, and like I say, all the general silliness that was going on. Yeah, I turned on my light so that you could see this gorgeous mug. But with all the restrictions and everything else going on, it kind of didn't feel like Christmas. Sabuna, the park really didn't get decorated until early December. And I understood that was a little bit late. That normally, they'd be up way earlier than that. And a few times we came into the malls into Cebu City last year, we really didn't see a lot decorations or even Christmas music until kind of late in the season for here. This year on September 1st, I actually did a little YouTube short on it. That we were in Velez Medical Center, the 7-Eleven in there, and uh, the Cindy messaged me on Facebook Messenger. Uh, the loudspeakers were playing Christmas music on September 1st. It was way cool. And I'm seeing a lot of the malls are decorated out, and a lot of the stores are finally decorated. But this season's looking to be a little bit more normal. Definitely not normal, but more normal. The mall. We went to Ayala the other day on the weekend, Sunday, I believe, and it was the busiest I've seen Ayala literally since we've got here just over a year ago. So things are getting better. They're not back to normal by any stretch of the imagination, but they are getting better. And I'm hoping, I am hoping against hope that this year, a lot of the things that go on typically here will start happening again. Good morning, Mr. Daniel. How you doing today? Yeah, I don't think that's what the burr months actually mean, but okay, yeah, that is kind of true too. In the Philippines, you rarely see people going burr. That only up in the mountains, and that's only on certain nights. that Although we are still in the northern hemisphere, so it technically is winter here. Actually, it's fall here, but uh, that I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's this huge squirrel that came out. I'm going to chase him for a minute. Although there was a couple times that it's gotten close, I don't think there's ever been an official temperature below 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius. I don't think there's actually ever been an official temperature freezing in the Philippines. I could be wrong in some of the mountain areas. Baguio gets cold. Malibali and some of these other areas get cold, um, but not genuinely cold. Now, 2 years ago, Mama and Papa were in the U.S. and in Arizona during Christmas season, and we took a trip up to Flagstaff, and we went up to northern Arizona and toured that, so they actually got to see snow. Yeah, in Arizona, you will get burr months. In Canada, you will quite definitely get burr months, and they probably do start around September. Uh, so, Greg, when do you guys decorate? Do you guys decorate early or not? That uh, we'd have some neighbors that were always a little curious why we decorated quite so early outside, and then we had to tell them that the outside's actually about 2 months late. Morning, Mr. David Brown. How you doing today? So the question of the day is how early do you guys decorate, and do you decorate inside and outside at a different time because of it? Oh, Daphne's got to be going nuts by then. Then that um, yeah, when the year last year when we left, that was the first year in a long time we hadn't decorated. Well, basically since Cindy got there, that we didn't have the tree up and everything else. But knowing that the move was happening, we actually gave away our tree the year before. Uh, it was a little bit. It was a few years old. It was getting a little worn. Uh, Typically, we would have gotten a replacement uh, during the after Christmas sales, but that's actually going to make an interesting dilemma next year when we go back because we don't have a tree up and we don't have a tree to put up in as early as we normally would. And in the U.S., you ain't gonna find Christmas decorations. In the U.S., you're not gonna find Christmas decorations in September. Uh, Maybe a few specialty shops online or something. We may hit up a couple friends and see if they want to donate a tree to the cause. Thankfully we left most of our decorations and everything else in the U.S. So, but a lot of the outside stuff is gone. but because we decorate in November, that one's not quite as bad. We might be able to get stuff by then. Yeah, David, the Philippines, it starts September 1st. Like I say, this year you were actually seeing the decorations and the music and all that going up September 1st. And it's kind of cool here that they do celebrate the Christmas season that long. That it, to me, it speaks volumes on the culture here that they do enjoy celebrating like that. Daniel, we almost did that, and with the way things turned out and worked out, I am immensely glad that we did not. We thought about, and this one we were going to hold off until we found a permanent place, anyhow. But we considered sending our Christmas village. That I think I may have a couple videos up on it. Um, but I've got quite an extensive Christmas village. I'm a huge Rudolph fan, and I want to say Hallmark, but it wasn't Hallmark. But one of the other. If you search online, you can find it. One of the other village people, not the group that, anyway, company that does Christmas villages and stuff. They did a Rudolph themed village for probably 6 years. That you periodically get new little houses. And I've got, to the best of my knowledge and understanding, I've got the entire Rudolph collection, and yeah, that's one of those things that kind of slipped out. And as it did, I realized the mistake on that one. But they also did a biker village, motorcycle Santa, around 2007. That they did that for a really short time. Cycle City Christmas. And I think I got all of the buildings for that one that they ever did produce, but they only did that for about a year, maybe two. There was only about 6, 8 buildings on that. And I've actually got a 4x8 sheet of plywood that the village has to be set up on because there's so stinking much to it. And I've got a fairly elaborate setup that it takes me about a month to put the entire thing together. And everybody comes over and oohs and ahs on it. But the house I'm in, the house we live in really doesn't have a good place to display it. So it winds up in a garage. But that's okay. I got so much, I'm stereotypical American. I got so much crap in my garage. I can't fit my car in there anyhow. Uh, but it's, there's some people that go over the top, even by American standards. I take it outside decorations aren't common in Australia, New Zealand? Because I was surprised to hear that as much as they love celebrating Christmas and as elaborately as a lot of people decorate the inside of their house, there's really not, other than malls or commercial buildings, there's really not people that decorate their houses here. At first, I thought it may be just a little bit of a money issue, but even some of the more well-to-do areas that the people just don't really decorate the outsides. And I always thought that kind of weird. But and that's something I never really thought about. And yes, that's an American, egotistical, nationalism, whatever. That I never really thought about how other people in other countries decorate, whether or not they really decorate outside. No, we did not. Uh, Danny, when we get more permanent resident, that I probably do something like that. There are pine trees that grow in most areas, and I'd kind of like to do that. Plant a pine tree. One, Cindy likes the pine trees to begin with, and it might be something neat to decorate outside too. And I like living Christmas trees too. Uh, Greg, believe it or not, we really didn't get out to a lot of the uh, decorate the outdoor places like that. Uh, Cindy was being a little bit curt, but that she didn't like having to pay to go in there. That we'd go around the neighborhoods and view the lights that way. David, in the U.S., there's neighborhoods that will have competitions with each other. Uh, there's actually even neighborhood associations that'll have competitions. That decorating the outside is almost more of a big deal than the inside in the U.S. And then I don't know if you would get it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you could search it on YouTube. Uh, every year there's a TV show that the Great American Christmas Light Fight that they go around the country to these people that have got insanely over the top displays that are over the top by American standards even. uh, Now, a lot in the past, a lot of that I would agree with you that a lot of these people would have some insanely high utility bills during the Christmas season. Georgia Light and Power, I believe it was Georgia Light and Power, actually went through and helped somebody that had one of these convert everything into LED, into high efficiency, and it slashed their electric bill by like 110%. That I may be misstating that, but it more than halved their electric bill. That it cut it by a huge chunk, like 60-70%. I would like to do something like that here as well. Uh, Sadly, in the U.S., I kind of stay away from anything overtly religious because of the political climate back there. But here you see town halls, you see everybody and their brother putting up religious themed decorations. Oh, that would be very cool. That one I maybe interested and willing to go down to next year just because of that little tidbit. You're gonna see me do something strange, but it's the easiest way for me to do it. When I see something like that come up, I'll actually take a photo of the chat, that way I can go back and refer to it. We did not. Uh, that I was thinking about going back and getting one for the top of the tree, but Mama came up with a way to use one of the flowers that Cindy had bought, and that she did a tree topper with that, and it actually looks really cool. And by being a flower like that, it looks Filipino. I like what they did with that. We may go back down and get some. And I'm sorry, I'm going to do the American thing. I'm going to decorate the outside to a point. And I probably put up a couple in the carport area that we'll have to figure out a way to put a hook or to put something like that up so that we can hang it up. I like the really big lighted ones. And this is something that Cindy and I are going to have to work out in our own mind, in our own way, whether or not we want to mess with getting one of the lighted ones, knowing that we're not going to be here for the next few years and not be able to ship it back and pay the expense. And they're here, the 30, 50 bucks. Or get one of the really cheap ones that was there, the really inexpensive ones, and maybe figure out a way to string some lights on it or something and just use that one for this year. And I'm thinking that may be the least expensive and the smartest way to go about it. It's like any of the Christmas decorations that I enjoyed decorating the inside of the house a lot. I enjoyed decorating the outside a huge amount. The last time I saw any prices, they were between 1,500 to, there was one that was about 5,000 pesos. But I'd say 15 to 25, 30 to 50 bucks US would be about average for one of the lighted ones. And again, the more elaborate you get, the higher dollar it goes. The one that was real high was a very elaborate setup. I guess these guys, talking about Papa, supposedly these guys will spend 6 months getting these things ready for Christmas and then just start selling them like crazy at Christmas. Now, I've seen them in the U.S. One of the Filipino restaurants in Phoenix has some. I don't know if they're locally made, that they have somebody that makes them in the U.S. for sale, or if they're made here and shipped. But yeah, the ones I saw in the U.S. are easily $100+ US dollars, and that's the more simple ones. And the fact that they're 110 kind of leads me to believe that they're probably made there locally. Which, if Papa goes back with me, that might be something him and I can do for a side project, to start making up 10 or 15 of them that are pretty elaborate, and put lights on them and then sell them. But yeah, trying to ship something like that back to the States would be horribly expensive. And so I'm thinking if they were made here and shipped, that's part of the reason for it. If they were made there, I'm thinking that's just what the capitalism at its finest. What the market will bear, that they will charge. I wouldn't mind getting one. I think Papa and I could have a lot of fun making one though. And as far as trying to get the wiring and stuff, the tie wire and stuff like that, I'm thinking we could do that fairly simply there. Daniel, I would say there's a strong chance of that. Hey, Greg, have you seen any in Arizona for sale? And that's actually a good question for you, David. That Do you see the Christmas paroles, the Filipino paroles in the New Zealand? Uh, until I got with Cindy, I'd never really seen them. But after being with her, I've seen them a couple times in different. The one that I remember distinctly was the Christmas parole, Greg. You know the Christmas paroles, those big stars that they often have lighting, that they got the tassels and stuff like that that the Philippines decorates with the big elaborate ones. Uh, I've seen them in one of the restaurants in Phoenix has them usually, uh, and then at one of the events, the outreaches or something like that, somebody had some for sale around Christmas time. But other than that, I've never seen them in even the Asian markets and stuff. So it'd be kind of interesting to see whether or not Papa and I could make some and sell them, see what they'd sell for. Uh, I'm just curious if you'd ever seen them at any of the events you guys have been to, or down in Casa Grande somewhere. I don't believe. Is there a Filipino restaurant in Casa Grande? But it's kind of fun blending a lot of that together. And I don't have any real outdoor decorations that are Filipino. Back in the U.S., it'd be kind of neat to try and get one like that is a little bit more Filipino. Uh, that uh, I I got to do something for Papa, help him when he goes back to that. And yeah, when we get, assuming everything goes along the lines and we do wind up going back, uh, that's going to be one thing that I'm going to need to try and balance time with, and it's going to be interesting. And this is kind of a practice session for that too. Is balancing a lot of the starting that balancing act between family, especially watching and helping out with Pumpkin, and trying to get a lot of this stuff done. That I've been doing okay a couple weeks about posting to our blog, the pills2phoenix.com, and would also do a moto vlog on our Pills to Phoenix moto vlog channel. And this week I fell short. I'm just editing our for the moto vlog, and I've got the blog about half written. And so I need to track my time a little bit better and get that stuff done. Because it's just going to get worse when Pumpkin gets here. This year, especially bad. Next year, she'll be a 1-year-old in the U.S., so that's going to be kind of a challenge too. But and Daniel, for a long time, I did. I had a camera almost attached to my hand in wood, and I had tons of hours of video to sort through, and that took a long time to do. I need to plan the vlog part of it out a lot better, and just use a lot of that as B-roll footage, and get a lot better with my editing and stuff like that. And I either wind up spending so much time trying to edit all of it that I don't have time to go out and shoot it, or I wind up spending so much time going out and shooting it I don't have time to edit it. And so I need to get a lot better in shooting, so the editing goes a lot smoother and quicker. But I did notice that as I got back into posting videos, and that requires a lot better shooting, and that's where I fall short is I shoot pretty much everything, and I need to get a lot more selective and a lot better with it, uh, and plan some of this stuff out a little bit better too. One thing I went back and showed Cindy a lot of is I've got a lot of good footage that starts to tell a story, but it never has a conclusion or ending. And that is one huge problem I have is that either I'll get so involved in the shooting and let the project I'm doing fall by the wayside, or I'll wind up getting so involved in the project and let the shooting fall by the wayside. A month or so ago, I went and did out flush to the radiator in sunshine, and I started it well, but then never ended it. I got busy with the job and started doing that and never finished the video. And so I got, an hour's worth of video that really doesn't have an ending. And that's a huge part of my problem with trying to do this. The haul videos that we did, that those work out really well because they're planned, they're done, and they're edited, and they're not too bad. Hey, Mr. Lee, how you doing today from Peoria? I had to look there for a second. We're discussing the burr months in the Philippines. That's always a fun world's longest Christmas season. And a lot of times that is the best way to do it. And that's kind of like what I like to try and do. But I wind up with videos that don't have an ending or don't tell a story in any way. And that's part of my problem is I do. And then I can't figure out how to edit it into something coherent and get it posted. That some of these bloggers are really talented with doing that and being able to do that. That for a short time, I tried to do that in daily blogging and just go throughout the day, shoot key scenes and get it edited and posted, and to more or less to help teach myself editing and shooting. But again, I got busy with other stuff, and it got and it just wound up not happening. Actually, the phone was turned off. I don't know what was going on with that one. That until you guys let me know that it was on, I didn't even realize it was on. Like I say, I turned the phone off because I had a hard time logging off with it. And so I figured just shut down, log out of the program, and turn off the phone, and it would shut off. And it didn't. I actually had to log in on my American phone to get it to shut off. Lee, define anytime soon. What the current game plan is we're going to get Pumpkin's Philippine and American passports, and shortly thereafter start booking tickets to go back to the States. Projected time frame is sometime between March and May of next spring. So any time in the immediate future, no. Sometime within the next year, yeah, we do plan on going back. Too much has changed, and we did not. The setup that we started to do didn't account for this, and so we're gonna head back and we're gonna go back, reassess, regroup, and rebuild, and then start again. Probably in about 3 to 5 years. Be back before Pumpkin starts school permanently. At this point, Dumageddon is probably looking to be the forerunner and where we'll wind up lighting at. It's a big enough city that has decent schools uh, and amenities, uh, close enough to family that we can get to them quickly. Uh, just so much going back to that, going in favor of Dumageddon. Subject to change, Daniel. That's kind of the game plan at this point. But in all honesty, if you would have asked us a year ago, we would have told you we weren't going to be going back to the States for at least 3 years. So that's why I'm including subject to change in that qualification, qualifier in that statement. And without delving too deeply into political situations, with everything going on back in the U.S., with the economy the way it's going, I'll have to say there's a somewhat realistic outside chance that we may not go back to the States at all. If if the economy continues, inflation continues to go the way it is, and everything's happening, we may go back for a real short visit for a couple months, and then just come straight back to the Philippines. We may not even go at all, depending on what goes down. So like I say, that right now, the way things are changing, even still, going back to the States is something that's most likely going to happen. Oh, okay. Remind me after I'm done that Cindy just gave the water bill. And Lee, I've heard that stuff is just skyrocketed even in Phoenix. That it's getting insane. I've got friends in other parts of the country that have shown some of the price increases, and like I say, if it's that bad by the time we come back, by the time we're ready to come back, that there's a chance we may not come back. But at least for the moment, and the working game plan is to go back for a while. That is. I'm sorry. Response to Greg's comment. The average home price in Phoenix is $500,000. That I can't even comment on that. Ours, that we have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that's under 1,000 square feet, and our latest Redfin estimate before I misquote this one. Where our latest Redfin estimate for our house in Phoenix, and that's for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. 860 square feet or 840 some square feet. I'm kind of curious what they've got it listed as. They won't let me log in, but Uh, I can go back and check out some comments. That yeah, David, I'm kind of surprised that they don't have at least the Christmas paroles over there, because that is such a huge deal for Filipinos. But like we were talking, they are horribly expensive in the U.S. and Canada. Uh, Daniel, it the you the U.S. is one of the few countries that does citizen-based taxing. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you get taxed as if you're living in the U.S. Uh, so yeah, that kind of jacks us over, and any of the expats or foreign U.S. citizens that are living here have to file income tax and everything else as if they were living in the U.S. Sucks. Income generated in the Philippines is can be taxable, uh, and that's something else that a lot of people have an issue with. And Lee, that's part of why, whether we raise pumpkin here or in the U.S., we're going to make sure that they have experience in both cultures and countries. Uh, David, I'm going to say no. Actually, surprisingly, I'm going to say no. That any of the any of the schools here, from elementary to university level, most of them are uh, fully accredited with the U.S. Cindy's bachelor's degree just transferred in for her to get her master's in the U.S. The other thing too here is schools are affordable, so you could send a child to a fairly high end private school for comparatively next to nothing. Uh, I know some families that are scraping by and paying $6,000 and $10,000 a semester to send their kids to private schools in the U.S. And right now, with the way the education system is going in the U.S., neither Cindy nor I are terribly in love with the way that they're choosing to teach in the U.S. That they're again, it's going to want to delving a little into the political situation, but they're doing more to indoctrinate kids into a belief system than they are to teach the kids reading, writing, and arithmetic. Here, they teach you the facts and figures and let you make up your own mind and help you think about what the help teach you how to think about the situation versus being told what to think. No, Daniel, that they do not uh, they do not deduct anything from our pension. Social Security, the Social Security Administration, you can get your uh, checks direct deposited to even a Filipino bank. We don't do that for a couple of reasons, but yeah, that they have no problem with you living out of country for that. In most countries, there are a few that they will stop your pension if you're living there. There's a couple that they'll actually cancel your pension altogether if you're living in. Mainly the communist countries, Cuba, China, North Korea. those type of countries. But generally, no, that it doesn't affect your pension in any way, shape, or form. Oh, okay, David. It took me a minute to catch up on the comment. So, is New Zealand always that expensive? I'm assuming the 1950 445,000 was a house. Uh, is that pretty typical for New Zealand, or have their prices went crazy in the last uh, year? That yeah, my brother-in-law is over teaching in Asheville, North Carolina now. He spent a year teaching in Miami, or a suburb of Orlando. I'm sorry, it was a suburb of Orlando, not Miami, Orlando. Uh, and at least once a day, he wound up having to call the school resource officer in to handle situations. And yeah, he is not terribly in love with the American education system. He's thought about extending the contract. He's also thought about a couple times coming back already, ending his contract early. This year's not too bad. He's in a lot better school system now. Huh. That I didn't know that with Canada. So yeah, and that's part of the reason why we don't do the direct deposit with the Social Security Administration. That it gets here a lot quicker because the way we're choosing to do it takes about 6 weeks to get a freaking check cleared here in the Philippines. But if you do it through Social Security, they withhold the maximum that they can withhold. And because mine's disability income, that I don't get hit with taxes really much anyhow, and so I really don't want them to have. I think it's 23 or 28% of my income. Oh, we get it back at the end of the year when we file our taxes. But yeah, I'd rather have the money throughout the year versus a huge tax return. Yeah, David, that's not good at all. At all, the U.S. is going through some insane inflation. Uh, Lee, if you're still here, or Greg, what are you guys paying for fuel right now? That I've seen some posts of over $3 a gallon. One of them was approaching $4 a gallon in the Phoenix metro area. And Daniel Lee, yeah, that's a huge thing that we're going for right now. Is the educational systems here are much better. The culture system here is much better. That the kids are taught respect for elders, for authority figures, and I haven't seen the breakdown like the West has. Uh, and I'm pretty confident that Pumpkin would turn out to be a lot better, much more well-adjusted person than being raised here than would be in the U.S. Now, Daniel Ford was saying the same thing about Canada, that they withhold a decent amount of his pension. Now, I don't get why they would do that. Uh, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, so it's um, trying to do the conversion in my head that $1.52. Yeah, you're over $4 a gallon for Canadian dollars a gallon. So yeah, you're in that same ballpark, $3-4 a gallon for fuel. That's Philippines prices. Another friend of mine that holy crap, David, I think you take the prize. Uh, uh, I got to do the conversion on that one because that one's kind of surprising to me. 379. So 235 times 3.79. That's $8 and 91 New Zealand dollars to the gallon. I wow. You guys are gonna have to bear with me. I want to check that conversion. Yeah, you definitely take the cake on that one. By today's exchange rate, that's $6.34 a gallon in U.S. dollars. That's insane. Can you afford to drive down the block? And a long time ago, my dad was a railroad worker all of his life, and so this is a little bit different scenario, but it's basically the same. He put a pen to paper and to retire at his earliest date, which was around 62, versus waiting and maxing out his retirement. He would have had to have made it to 90, 90 something. My uncle and him sat down and they did the conversion figure. By the time he would have collected the same amount, if he would have waited to make the max amount, he would have had to have made it to 90 to catch up with where he was at if he would have retired at his earliest possible date. And so he said, yeah, that would add, screw it. That uh, it's not worth it. Their father, my grandfather, did wait until he maxed out his railroad retirement, and that was another factor in this equation for my dad. My grandfather never lived to cash one of his own retirement checks. He retired at the end of December and died in mid January. He wasn't retired 30 days before he passed away. A lot of time, uh, you are much better off in the long term retiring early and collecting that for the length that you will versus waiting. Uh, and the other thing too is at that age, a lot of people go downhill rapidly. And that my dad, that he went downhill uh, about 75, 77 in that area. And in a matter of a couple of years, he went from a fairly active person to somebody that was just kind of marking time until he died. So, yeah, Lee, I definitely applaud you in that decision. And in my opinion, it is a very good decision. Uh, and to be honest, to be perfectly honest, if you work until 70 and had those 8 years versus retiring at 62 and had 8 years going to 70, those 8 are probably going to be a lot better years for you. And so, yeah, that I would definitely take the early one. That, yeah, and to be honest with you, it hurts to pump here too. But between Sunshine and Rusi, that they both of them get pretty good fuel mileage. And you don't drive that far here. But yeah, that it's $3-4 a gallon here for fuel too. But uh, you spend more time sitting in traffic than you actually do driving here. And bottom line, that if you want, you can just grab a cab. And I've thought about that a lot more. But I've also went back and looked when Sunshine was in a hospital for her rebuild. We spent a fairly healthy chunk of change, more so than we do on fuel expenses and such, uh, with everything. So, but yeah, we gotta today at 1 o'clock. I'm gonna take Sunshine down to a local mechanic. The radiator fan, for some reason, it's an electric fan, and it stopped working. And so I need to figure out what's going on with that. And I don't have the tools or place to tear it apart to find out. And so I'm going to have to take it, run it down to him and see if he can pull it out, figure out, is it a bad motor and I need a new fan? Is it a short somewhere? And at this point, to be honest with you, if it's a short, I'm going to ask him to just wire in a switch. And we'll just deal with it that way. And actually, Daniel, I noticed that it's coming up on my 1 hour, and I got a bill to pay and some other stuff too, and so I do need to get going today. But I appreciate everybody that's shown up, and for all the support you guys do give this channel. Holy crap. Yeah, Lee, that and Phoenix commutes can be horrible depending on your hours. But from Toe Chip Compound, I'd like to wish everyone Mayang Pasko and Mabuhay. Yeah, I'm doing this from the computer, so that one's actually real easy.